Hey there friends, welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm of course Paul Glasgow here, the one and only truth pimp, dealing you a vulgar display of logic and reason on a daily basis. Today is, let's just call it frickin' Freedom Friday. We have one of the wildest stories that I'm sure you guys have seen at least a clip from earlier this week from would-be Vice President, but current Senator Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine achieved the rarest of political feats this week by comparing the American founding principles to Sharia law. And check this out.
Notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the creator. That's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law and targets Sunnis, Baha'is, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities. And they do it because they believe that they understand what natural rights are from their creator.
Holy Jesus.
So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
Jesus H. Christ.
This guy got so much wrong. You're going to have to give me a few minutes to break all this down, because let's remind ourselves, this guy was however many votes from becoming Vice President of the United States. Remember, he ran with Hillary. I know not a lot of people remember that because that was the first time Trump won, spanked Hillary. By the way, Trump has beaten 2 women so far. Anyway, Tim Kaine was that candidate. This dude not only doesn't understand the Constitution and from where our rights came from, he also doesn't understand Sharia, not Shia, Sharia law, and compares the two, right? I mean, he didn't just mislabel Iran's government. He took it further, much further. He actually compared the concept of God-given rights, the actual cornerstone of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, to the foundation of Iran's theocratic regime under Sharia law. Now, you guys know what Sharia law is. It's the made-up law by Muslims, more specifically radical Islam, are the ones who really push Sharia law right now, but it's a real thing. They continue to do it. It's where they can beat women over the head and throw gay people off of a roof. That's Sharia law. So let Tim Kaine's words sink in a little bit. Basically, what he's saying in his little world is saying your rights come from God is basically the same as running a religious police state like Iran does. Apparently he missed the memo that America's founding was meant as the ultimate firewall against government deciding who was right and who was wrong. Apparently he missed the fact that the founders looked at the idea of an all-powerful government who could divvy up and hand out rights, and they ran in the opposite direction. That's not what they wanted. Our founding fathers were not creating rights that they would hand out to us little old plebes. No, they recognized the rights that we as humans, the moment we're born into this world, we as humans have certain fundamental rights. They're not issued to us. These are rights that you have, no matter what country you belong to. If you belong to a country that doesn't have a Second Amendment right in order to defend yourself, your rights are being deprived because you already had that right. Your government took it from you. Tim Kaine thinks that our founding fathers were issuing rights, not sending out amendments and writing amendments that protected them and limited the government. He's thinking the government had all this power and gave a little bit to us. Now I realize not everybody's as stupid as Tim Kaine, but let's go down this road. The Declaration of Independence states plainly, all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. So maybe Tim Kaine wasn't a very good student in school, especially English. Didn't pay attention, was it vocabulary? Maybe he wasn't really good at that. Maybe he failed the definition of endowed. That may be the word that's tricky to him, because he does understand what the creator is, even though he disagrees with what it means. So let's define endowed. Naturally possessing a certain quality, talent, physical feature, or advantage. So that means that whatever, and I don't think this is the important part as far as what specific religion and God we're talking about. We're talking about, I think it's almost figuratively that we're even using the word God in this, because this is, you could be born in the Amazon rainforest and you have these same rights. You understand what I'm saying? Now maybe your thinking is that God as a whole, the creator of the universe, gave you that right as a human on planet Earth. But you don't have to subscribe to a particular religion to have been born by these rights, is my point. But it doesn't change who might be given those rights whenever they are born into this world. Everyone has them. So with the statement that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, it means that you naturally possessed these rights as a human being. It didn't matter what religion you were. It doesn't matter who your particular God is. You can pray to a goat or a cow or whatever you want to. You're born with those rights. They are naturally occurring rights that you have as a human being. These aren't privileges handed out by kings or some ruler or something like that, or even whichever president happens to be sitting in the White House today. These rights pre-exist government. They were already here. Before the Constitution was written, before the Declaration of Independence, before any of that pen to paper, those rights existed. They were already there. All they're doing is acknowledging them. This government document, Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, all of that is a recognition of the things that we hold as a true fact. There's a really big misunderstanding that once we wrote it down, that gave everybody rights. That is not the case. These rights existed for hundreds and hundreds of years before anybody thought to write those words onto a piece of paper. They were already in existence. They were already part of mankind. You, again, were born with those. Cavemen were born with those same rights. And in all honesty, Kaine's blundering logic is textbook of what the founders actually feared. He's parroting the very ideas, talking about centralized power, politicians deciding right and wrong, and telling us what we can or can't do. He's parroting the very ideas that the founding fathers fought a revolution to escape. He's a walking, talking cautionary tale of why the freaking Bill of Rights even exists. I mean, listening to Kaine, you would think the government gets to decide what rights you have. If the First Amendment upsets the wrong committee or the Second Amendment offends a senator with no constitutional compass, tough. The all-powerful government will just step in, trim it, reshape it, and erase all of your liberties just because they own your rights and they decide when you can or can't have them. That's precisely how you end up with regimes that he's mentioning, like Iran, this very way. His very mindset, frame of thinking, is how Iran got where they are. Now, I have to correct another thing that Kaine said. Again, this is an uneducated man. I don't know if they stay drunk all the time, snorting that coke. I don't know what they're doing over there, but they're certainly not educating themselves on actual stuff. I mean, I should not know more than this man does, and I do. I am a much more learned person than Tim Kaine, obviously, and on the issues that he should be more learned than me.
This is a house of learned doctors.
Let me correct this dummy on what he said as Shia law. Now, let's replay what he said regarding Iran.
That's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law.
Okay, let me correct him right there. There is no such thing as Shia law. There are different sects of Islam. There's Shia and Sunni, which is what he is missing because he's including the Shia aspect, which is what Iranians are. But he's confusing that with Sharia law. And I'm not splitting hairs here. These are real things. You can't call one thing Shia law when there is no such thing. There is a Shia interpretation of Sharia law, but there is no such thing as Shia law, and literally nobody, except for this one time that Tim Kaine said it, refers to the Shia's understanding of Sharia law as Shia law. Nobody has ever said that. The Shias don't say it, and Iran does not say that. This guy is the first person in history to ever say those two words together, because they are not compatible with one another. You don't switch out Sharia for Shia. That's just not the way it is. I mean, that's like changing out the 10 Commandments with the blessing. They're not interchangeable. The proper phrase, if this is how he got confused and meant to say something along these lines, would have been Iran is ruled by Sharia law according to Shia interpretation, which highlights the Islamic legal basis and its Shia distinctives. So if he's on any kind of foreign committee, especially one that might be dealing with the Middle East, I suggest we pull him off and maybe give him a refresher course on what's really going on over it. Because you can't sit here and speak on and even act on legislation regarding theocratic stuff in Iran if you don't understand it. And these are simple mistakes that he made. These are not deep mistakes where you use the wrong letter in the course of spelling out a word. No. So Tim Kaine needs to take a civics refresher and a, let's just call it a religious refresher, at least in terms of other ideologies on the other side of the world. Maybe read the Declaration of Independence while you're at it. I don't know, a document written to protect us all from the very abuses that he's casually justifying. Look, our founding fathers, they didn't want kings. We came from that. We know what happens when you have kings. We didn't want somebody determining when we could eat cake. We wanted somebody like a president. That's why we have 3 branches of government, although it's been heavily corrupted over the last 200 years. But we did not want somebody who a single person could decide what we could or could not do. And Tim Kaine either is letting his wishful thinking speak out loud, or he's just that stupid and unintelligent. He doesn't understand what this country is built on. One last thing I want to do, I wanted to rewrite the Second Amendment as if it were written according to Tim Kaine's philosophy that government issues rights to the people. So this is what I kind of came up with. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms is hereby granted by the government and may be regulated, limited, or revoked or deemed necessary by governing authorities. I don't know, maybe we could say right to keep and bear arms shall be issued to the people until we decide that you don't get to exercise. You understand what I'm saying? When the government can tell you what your rights are and the government can give you rights, the government can also take those rights away. Guys, please share the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. If you know anybody who might like the content on this channel, please share it, because, oh, by the way, the video that I put out yesterday on the DOJ potentially limiting or banning trans people from owning guns, YouTube didn't like it. Those of you that watch it know what I'm talking about. I literally took the sides of the trans community by saying that you can't constitutionally take anybody's rights from them just based on the nature of that group, the identification of that group. And they still labeled it as, guess what? Hate speech. I was literally on their side, and YouTube took my video down. It's deleted. If you watched it yesterday, if you saved it anywhere, go back and look. It ain't there. They took the video down. So guys, anything you can do to help promote the channel, I would appreciate it, because YouTube does not like this channel. They do not like my content. They do not like the truths that we put out over here, and they are doing everything they can to suppress this channel just like they did yesterday. Don't forget, guys, if you're looking for a book to educate yourself and to educate the idiots out there who can't think for themselves regarding mass shootings, go to damnliars.net. Again, damnliars.net, and get my brand new book, Damn Liars.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
It's hanging around.